the way that feminism, or women's rights is perhaps the more accurate term, the term they used, emerged from anti-slavery was unexpected. We might say that, looking back on it, oh, well, they're talking about the rights of free people, the rights of human beings, the rights of slaves. It was natural that they talked about the rights of women. Well, true enough, but the way that history changes is often in contingent ways that are unexpected. And in this case, the way that it emerged was through two sisters, Angelina and Sarah Grimke, born in South Carolina, in Charleston, in the heart of the beast of slavery, as the anti-slavery people saw it, who witnessed the cries of slaves as they were being punished in the punishment house. Families would send their slaves to be whipped and punished, and who developed an abhorrence for slavery. But it was not that abhorrence that actually propelled them in their very historic move that they made out of Charleston, but rather the search for a more meaningful religion than what they found in Charleston. The way it happened was that Sarah Grimke, 13 years older than Angelina, went with her father to Philadelphia when he was dying, seeking medical help. He died there. Friends, people from the Society of Friends, Quakers, took her in and gave her advice about her father, and she loved the quiet of their life, the fact that they did not have slaves, and the fact that their religion, she thought, organized her spiritual life in a more effective way. She became converted to a Quaker belief system and decided to emigrate from South Carolina to Philadelphia and began living with these Quakers. And very shortly went back and recruited her younger sister, Angelina, to come with her. After a struggle over Angelina's soul, which had already been given to Presbyterianism, Angelina too converted to this Quaker belief system and moved with Sarah to Philadelphia. But where they had moved was into a group of Orthodox Quakers, as they called themselves, who did not permit the discussion of slavery. So that's how we know they didn't move there in order to be anti-slavery people. Because if they had, they would have gone with different Quakers called Hicksite Quakers, who were very active in Philadelphia at the time against slavery and articulating against slavery. But the Quaker community had been split fairly recently in 1827 on the question of social issues, especially slavery, and the articulation of these social issues for the Orthodox was repressed as a way for them to carry out the quietness of their religious beliefs. So after 5 years of living in this community, Angelina Grimke broke out of it. And as she said at the time, my soul feels as though it has been shut up in a prison. And she came in contact with anti-slavery speakers in Philadelphia, told Sarah that she was joining the anti-slavery movement, wrote to William Lloyd Garrison saying, "Yours is a cause I would die for." And this all happened at the moment when Garrison's anti-slavery movement was sending pamphlets and materials to Charleston that were set afire in Charleston. So Angelina, hearing of this, somehow was riveted to action to side with Garrison in this moment in which Charleston was involved in the anti-slavery movement and in the reaction to it. Now, the crucial thing about Garrison's movement was that it was a call for immediate abolition, which was a radical call that challenged previous notions that saw slavery ending through colonization. Radical because immediate abolition means you accept the African American slave, the former slave, as a full citizen and as a full member of the society, which challenges racist ideas and calls for racial equality. So this is not only a plan to end slavery and establish free labor, this is a plan for racial equality. And it is everywhere hated. Boston just as much as Charleston. And William Lloyd Garrison is virtually lynched every place that he appears. The formation of his organization, the American Anti-Slavery Society, in 1831 is done secretly. No public announcement is made of it because it is incendiary. So when Angelina writes to him and says, "Yours is a cause I would die for," she thought she might die for it because abolitionist editors were being attacked and murdered. So this is a tiny minority, and it is a minority fired with religious conviction that slavery is sinful. And Angelina then gets Sarah at first opposes Angelina's move into anti-slavery, but then accepts it, and the two sisters become the showpiece of this new radical movement because they are able to really describe slavery at its worst, as it is, as they know it. And people will come to hear them who otherwise wouldn't want to be caught at this in this very radical place. So they especially have a tour of Massachusetts churches that opened to them in the summer of 1837, in which they are the featured speakers of a tour by the American Anti-Slavery Society, trying to strengthen itself as a social movement and to become more accepted. And their description of slavery and their speaking breaks the rule against women speaking to mixed groups, or as it was called then, promiscuous assemblies. They begin speaking to men and women in ways that was unprecedented for respectable women to do. And this breaking of this rule was opposed by many within their own group. So in order to express themselves against slavery, they have to break rules that limited the right of women to speak, and they begin to articulate a whole set of ideas that whatever it is morally right for a man to do is morally right for a woman. And they fill the churches that they speak against slavery in with notions of the right of women to speak on issues of social concern and the right of women to be full equals of men. And they develop in a series of publications in 1837, 1838, ideas about the equality of the sexes that to this day contain unfulfilled hopes for the equality of men and women.